I don't care what you. This is on camera, dum-dum. Come on, let's get away from it. People so ignorant.
Wayne Jenkins. Jenkins joined Baltimore's police department in 2003, first becoming a beat cop and patrolling the streets of Baltimore. During his time on the streets of Baltimore, Jenkins was involved in several arrests that resulted in the injuries of the people he took into custody. Despite this, Jenkins remained in his superior's good books, and when Fries was promoted in 2007, he decided to also give Jenkins a boost. It was in 2007 that Jenkins became part of the GTTF, a new unit of plainclothes officers focused on targeting suspected criminals believed to have big supplies of guns and drugs in a bid to reduce the city's high murder rate. However, the focus on quantity rather than quality led Jenkins and the 7 other GTTF officers to start planting evidence, take money from the homes they invaded, and even resell the drugs they seized back onto the streets. A 2-year federal investigation into the GTTF resulted in all 8 officers and 1 Philadelphia officer getting charged with several offenses, including racketeering in 2017. In February 2017, Jenkins was charged with 2 counts of racketeering conspiracy, racketeering, aiding and abetting, racketeering, 2 counts of robbery, and aiding and abetting, on 2 counts of possession of a firearm in furtherance of a crime of violence. Then, in November 2017, he was given further charges of destruction, alteration, or falsification of records in federal investigations, and deprivation of rights under color of law. When his case went to trial on January 5, 2018, Jenkins pled guilty. Jenkins was given a 25-year prison sentence on June 7, 2018, which he is currently in the midst of serving at a federal prison in Kentucky. In September 2021, Jenkins spoke with a journalist from behind bars. He claimed he never took money from Baltimore citizens. Wayne Couzens. On the evening of March 3, 2021, 33-year-old Sarah Everard was kidnapped in South London, England, as she was walking home to the Brixton Hill area from a friend's house near Clapham Common. She was stopped by off-duty Metropolitan Police Officer Wayne Couzens, who identified himself as a police officer, handcuffed her, and placed her in his car before driving her to near Dover, where he raped and murdered her. On March 2021, Couzens was arrested in Deal, Kent, first on suspicion of Everard's kidnapping and later on suspicion of her murder. Everard's remains were discovered in woodland near Ashford, Kent, on March 10th. Following their identification, Couzens was charged with her kidnapping and murder. At a hearing on July 9th, Couzens pleaded guilty to murder. On video link with Belmarsh Prison, he kept his head down and was shaking slightly. It was reported that he had hired a car and bought a roll of strong self-adhesive tape days before the murder. He and the victim were complete strangers and were unknown to each other prior to her abduction. On September 30th, Couzens was sentenced to life imprisonment with a tariff of a whole life order, with Fulford justifying the severity of the punishment by saying that Couzens' use of his position as a police officer to detain Everard was the vital factor which, in my view, makes the seriousness of this case exceptionally high. Braulio Gonzalez. Miami-Dade police first arrested Gonzalez in September 2018 after a girl who was known to him told a psychologist that he fondled her several times when she was between 8 and 10 years old. She also told a Florida Department of Children and Families interviewer that the first time Gonzalez fondled her, he pointed a gun at her head and threatened to kill a relative. The girl's sister also told investigators about her own molestation. Both testified at trial and each told the judge that Gonzalez had shattered their lives. One victim is now in college studying psychology and said that she is hoping to channel her trauma into helping other victims. Her sister, who once tried to overdose on medicine, said she is still in therapy. Gonzalez, a former Hialeah cop, joined Miami-Dade police in 1999. Before his arrest, he was assigned to the Special Response Team, which handles hostage situations, warrants, and dangerous fugitive searches. He'd been allowed to keep his job despite multiple allegations that he'd repeatedly beaten and abused his former lovers, according to internal police files. Miami-Dade police cleared him of those allegations. A judge sentenced Braulio Gonzalez, 48, to life in prison for the crimes that shattered the lives of the two victims, who are now in their early 20s. Gonzalez, who plans to appeal his conviction, declined to address the court or apologize to the victims during the hearing. Derek Chauvin. Derek Michael Chauvin is an American former police officer who was convicted of murdering George Floyd, a 46-year-old African-American man in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Chauvin was a member of the Minneapolis Police Department from 2001 to 2020. On May 25, 2020, Chauvin was one of the 4 officers involved in arresting George Floyd on suspicion of using a counterfeit $20 bill at a market and was the field training officer for one of the other officers involved. Security camera footage from a nearby business did not show Floyd resisting the arrest. The criminal complaint stated that, based on body camera footage, Floyd repeatedly said he could not breathe while standing outside the police car, resisted getting in the car, and fell down. He went to the ground face down. While Floyd was handcuffed and lying face down on the street, Chauvin knelt on Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes. After Chauvin placed his knee on Floyd's neck, Floyd repeatedly said, "I can't breathe, mama, and please." For part of the time, 2 other officers knelt on Floyd's back. During the final 2 minutes, Floyd was motionless and had no pulse. Several bystanders took videos which were widely circulated and broadcast. Chauvin and the other officers involved were fired the day following the incident. While knee-to-neck restraints are allowed in Minnesota under certain circumstances, Chauvin's use of the technique had been widely criticized by law enforcement experts as excessive. Chauvin was arrested on May 29, 2020, charged with third-degree murder and the lesser-included offense of second-degree manslaughter, making him the first white police officer in Minnesota to be charged in the death of a black civilian. Chauvin's trial began on March 8, 2021, at the Hennepin County Government Center. It marked the first time that a judge in Minnesota authorized cameras to show a full criminal trial. The jury found Chauvin guilty on 3 counts: unintentional second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. He was the first white Minnesotan police officer to be convicted of murdering a black person. On July 7, 2022, Chauvin was sentenced to 21 years in prison on the charges of violating the civil rights of George Floyd. That was it for today's video. Before leaving, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.